started.
Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. And I'm so glad that you've joined the conversation. On our show, we try and explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us thinking, imagining, exploring, connected, and perhaps inspired or challenged to do just a bit more because we made the connection. Our topic today is exploring our creative will to both imagine and build a better future, and ways that you can support building that better future. Joining us is Jeffrey Morris, Black director, writer, director, based here in the Twin Cities. He's been working in film and TV for many years and has been developing the documentary The Eagle Obsession. This documentary features Jeffrey on a globe-trotting adventure as he investigates the origins and ongoing fascination with the iconic Eagle transporter from the classic science fiction series Space 1999. Welcome, future dude.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jeffrey. I bring up Future Dude because Future Dude Entertainment is a premier source of original and captivating future-focused adventure stories that you created.
I did. I'm going to see. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry.
Bless you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I founded the company 15 years ago, and my whole focus has been, it started a long time ago, but the main issue for me is kind of fighting against anti-intellectualism and trying to inspire positivity and hope and the kind of dreams that we had. When I was young, I really thought the future was going to be a very different place than it's turning out to be. So I want to tell stories about the world that I'd like to see exist. That's a big part of what I think science fiction can do. It can point the direction to a more positive future. So.
Well, the last time you were on the show was in October, and we were getting ready for the Twin Cities Film Fest, where you were going to be presenting. And I opened with a quote that you had in some of the materials that you sent me. Imagining the future is the best, and how you describe that is the best sci-fi is a mirror. And this time you sent me a 22-minute preview, which is just excellent. And in it, I was moved by science fiction does not predict the future; it inspires it.
Yes.
Better,
yes.
It inspires either a better future or a warning of what's coming our way. And I love the question is, do we have the will to create that future? And I thought that was a especially moving question for where we are right now.
Yes, I mean the thing that's happened, and again, thank you for having me on. I was trying to think about what do I want to talk about today, especially considering where we are.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because science fiction, it should be a way to either talk about possible futures, both positive and negative, right? It's to say, hey, this is what could happen if we don't change course. Right. That's a possible way that, another thing is to say, this is what could happen if we work together and we improve and we evolve and we change our outlook, right? Change our way of interacting, change our way of being. This is a better future we could have. I think that's kind of what a Star Trek future was. The Gene Roddenberry vision, the original vision of Star Trek, was very much about fostering this sort of more positive vision of what the future could be. Whereas you have stories like Mad Max, that takes place in the future, but it's not a positive future. It's kind of a climate ravaged, a place where people are in perpetual conflict and darkness, right? Terminator, that's a very negative vision of the future, right? You also have the dystopic visions, that things like, so I think about back in the 1970s, where novels like Brave New World, right, or movies like Logan Run, things like that. Those talk about dystopic. They can be futuristic societies, but they're very, very. There's a dark underbelly to all of it,
right? And an underlying fear. that permeates throughout, and almost a hopelessness that can be overwhelming.
What scares me and bothers me more than anything is that it feels like now, you know, it's like I've actually said this, is like the sci-fi was not supposed to be a roadmap.
Right. You said, and you said that in the last show we had. This isn't a roadmap. This is,
it's not a roadmap. It's not supposed to be like, hey, you know, we should do that.
Yeah.
You know, let's actually destroy the environment and create, you know, and it's just, it's and obviously the last time we talked was kind of pre-election.
Right.
And, you know, and now it's like, I honestly, at this point, I'm not sure what kind of future we could possibly, I don't know. I'm not trying to be negative.
No. And I've had several artists that have different visions, and that's especially why I wanted to have you on the show again. I believe the way forward is art. It's what we have right now. What distressed me, especially this last week, is as you were saying about Star Trek, what a celebration of multicultural. You know, what beauty, where you have Sulu and you have Chekhov and you have Uhura, you know, communications, and that was prized. That was beautiful. That was amazing. You know, that was a hope. And this, you know, this last 12, 14 days, we have a vision of space where there's a hope to go to Mars, and there's an excitement around that. Yet at the same time, what gutted me this week is we have this horrible aeronautical disaster.
Yeah.
And it gets blamed on DEI, which is a catch for people of color, women, and people with disabilities. I mean, what?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I've actually said this. It's funny because I have lots of friends who are very pro the SpaceX, right? And I have always been kind of on the fence about SpaceX simply because I always felt like this is a commercial venture. You know, NASA was a public venture, right? It's a government venture where we, the people, are supporting it. We were supporting it, paying for it.
And it was ours. This was ours.
Right? Belonged to us. Right?
Yes.
And the thing with, and now there are people, the naysayers will go, well, yeah, it's part of the problem is there was no innovation. And, you know, people, you know, Musk is bringing innovation and he's bringing, you know, new ideas to all this. And so that's what, you know, and we got to get away from the government to more of the private sector because that's where the innovation is. And I'm like, well, no, you know, the government, this program, creating the space program actually got us to the moon. It actually got, you know, and yes, it took time for there were actually attempts at diversity. They didn't get off the ground fully. There were female astronauts. They didn't get to fly. There was a black astronaut. He unfortunately was in a plane crash, but there's in the 1960s, people don't know about some of this stuff. But the point was NASA eventually got it together and they moved into the right direction. And at the end of the day, for me, we're all humans anyway. So the accomplishment of going to the moon was a human accomplishment, and it doesn't, you know, I wasn't stuck on the skin color of who went there, you know, initially, right? It's like the idea is we're all going to get to go, and it's going to happen.
Well, and as much of your work is about the heroism. I mean, this was, you know, a space cowboy. I mean, he was adventuring to the moon.
Exactly. So, but my point is that what I don't think people see is that if we go to Mars with the current approach, then we're going to the Mars not as Star Trek. We're going to the Mars as we're the Empire in Star Wars.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, do we really want to be the Empire? Like, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to Mars, but yeah, okay, but we're going to Mars and we've got, you know, Darth Vader.
What,
you know,
exactly.
Like,
where's the humanity?
It's like we're saying, hey, this is super exciting. It's like, yeah, it's great. Lex Luthor is helping us to you know, get to Mars. It's like, oh, that's great, Lex Luthor. It's awesome, you know. Or you know, I think about these Bond villains, right? And you think about like, I'm like, wow. So people are now seeing our future. The hope of the future is in the hands of Bond villains. That's what it feels like to me. Right now.
But there's always, you know, a hope in those movies that some kind of good prevails. I mean, even in those darkest of films, there is a thread that keeps us at the edge of our seat in a hopeful connection with the hero that wants something better for ourselves, that symbolizes that hope.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think that there absolutely have to be. It's just that, here's the thing.
Yep.
I'm personally really tired of. I don't really want to tell stories about good versus evil. Mm. What I'd like to do is tell stories about good versus the challenge of discovery.
Yes.
Good. Good versus how do we overcome? You think about a situation like a tsunami, for example, a natural disaster, right? Mm. The villain in that case is just the earth kind of doing the things the earth does.
Natural forces.
Right, natural forces. That's very different. Or good versus I'm going to, I'm going to challenge myself to be we're going to challenge ourselves to be the first people to make it to the North Pole. We're going to, good versus the elements, right? Mm-hmm. Good versus, right? But this thing of this constant struggle of there are these evil people who want to do evil and terrible things, and we have to stop them. And we have to, I think that there's even a problem with the fact that that's a recurring we can't seem to get past.
Absolutely agree. I think it comes down to really simple negotiations, right? Negotiations are either win or lose to some people. That's it. It's just the win or the lose. And if you're winning, great. If you're losing, not. But truly, negotiations and looking to the future is much more integrative. We have so many different things that need to be kept in mind. When we're fighting the natural forces, there's a whole curiosity that one has to go to in imagining a variety of solutions and a variety of ways to adapt. And it's not, black or white. It's in the gray that allows us to explore something more, that allows us to see science as a journey and a discovery, that allows us to see art right. as a journey and a discovery.
That's my only point is that, I really think we need more of those stories.
Yes, right? Yes. And 110% agree, because I think we limit ourselves by just good versus evil.
I got really tired. I mean, one of the things that I'm really disappointed in is watching. I'm just being honest. Star Trek, watching it sort of degenerate into. There used to be a time where Star Trek, of course, they had some bad guys, and they ran. Yes. It used to be,
and at least one episode, a shirt would be coming off.
Sure. Yes.
In the fight.
Yes. But yes, but my point was there was also just discovery or just trying to understand the human mind better, trying to understand how to be better, those sorts of stories. And it sort of generated into, well, no, there's this big, terrible, evil thing, and it's coming to get us, and it's just that's got to change. We got to have something else. We need something else. Other stories to guide us. And something else I'd like to talk with you about today.
And I got to put you on pause because my technical director is saying that I have to go to break. So
okay.
All good. And I'm going to be on the edge of my seat about the other thing that you want to talk to us about, but it will all be from the framework of looking at science fiction or science faction, as you had in one of your conversations in your documentary. A little bit more about your documentary and ways to support you in being able to finish up getting that all edited and brought to life. So we'll be right back after a few commercials. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. We are having a wonderful conversation with Jeffrey Morris, who is a writer, educator based here in the Twin Cities, and he's been developing a documentary, The Eagle Obsession. And in our last segment, we were talking about some of the science fiction that's based in good versus evil. And can we broaden that? Perhaps the scientist can be a hero as he looks at the connections in a more heroic way of looking at all the nuance and the challenges and the discoveries. Mm-hmm. So you were about to tell us something, and I had to cut us off and go to a commercial.
Oh, no, it's fine. One of the things I was trying to think about, when we look at where we are currently, our current environment, something that was really important to me growing up is I was hoping to, I was watching shows like Star Trek and Space 1999, things like that, where it felt like in those stories, the humans had worked together to figure it all out, right? We'd gotten past a lot of our differences, and then our challenges really had to do with what we were running into as we were exploring space, right? That sort of thing, as opposed to fighting each other,
right?
And I look back at that time, and something that I really recognized, and there's a sort of a thread of anti-intellectualism that I think was, and sort of a shift away from education and science that was really that was already starting to take hold back in the 70s. I could feel it even as a child, and it's not surprising that we are where we are, because we didn't, as a society, I don't think we placed enough emphasis and understanding on trying to make sure that people were truly educated and empathetic, and you know what I mean? Like it feels like this capitalistic push of growth is the number one thing, as opposed to how do we make it better for everybody? How do we make everyone better? Right? Those sorts of things.
I think I found it, the intellectualism and the more of the capitalism for me happened in the 80s. I mean, there was still, I think, the granola crowd after the hippies that believed in coming together and also, being connected to nature, and had a vision of science being something that was, especially environmental science, was something that was, deeply important and deeply you cared about. And then something got a little weird in the 80s. I remember being in college and seeing the freshman crew coming in that were much more business, much more preppy. Something was shifting underneath my feet that felt like it became much more, how can I get ahead? What's in it for me? I think it was the leadership, right? Yeah.
I think the leadership that we had come in really was, right in 1980, we had a leader that had a very different agenda, and I think that agenda leads all the way through to today, in a lot of ways. So
even in terms of firing FAA folks, I've talked to some folks, and they look at me straight in the eyes and go, well, as long as it doesn't affect me, I don't care. Like, what?
It's funny. It's funny you say that, because I actually think that that's a big part of the situation too. Is I think there are people who are like, one, if it's going to happen, it's not going to happen to me. Right. And so as long as it's unfortunate if it happens to somebody else, but as long as it doesn't happen to me, it is what it is. There are actually people who are like, it's not real. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. That's actually one that I ran into. It's not really, he's not going to do that. It's really not going to happen. That's what people would say.
And then I wonder, how do they double down when it does happen?
Well, right. Exactly. So those were kind of my three things. It's like, it's not going to happen, but okay, if it does happen, it's not going to happen to me. Those sorts, right? It's very dark to watch this. And, one of the things that I found so troubling about the DEI thing that you brought up for the aviation disaster is, you think about how much harder sometimes, a female pilot would have to work to get to be there, right?
Yes.
Like if I got on an airplane and I see a female pilot, I'm like, yes.
She worked her butt off to get there.
She worked her butt off to get there.
Yes.
And if I see a black pilot, I'm like, good job, brother. It's like you did this. You got yourself here, right?
Yes.
And so there's no way that I'm sitting here thinking, and then I'm looking at my career and all the work that I've done in science and education and film and everything. And what was I had my own company. Was I a DEI hire to my own? You know what I mean?
And the tragedy, getting back to like the education and honoring education and flourishing with the education and bringing great minds together. Like you were saying earlier, I mean, we're all human, and we should want everyone to excel with their curiosity, with their intellect, with their education, and it's now almost dismissed. Like, what is truth? What are facts? Dismissed with conspiracy and grievances. It's confusing.
Well, something you're going to see in my documentary is I have a really interesting conversation with William Shatner,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the topics that he and I talk about, he's extremely concerned about climate change,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of that happened for him. It was sort of pushed further because when he went into the edge of space, he got to see the Earth from there, and he started realizing, my gosh, look at what this is. We don't get it. We don't get how fragile this is. And
Precious, our precious blue marble.
And it's just this atmosphere that we live in it's so thin and so tenuous, but it doesn't seem like it when we're down here on the surface, right? And I think that's why so many people don't get it. He gets it. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that he and I talked about was also the fact that, there are tons of people now, the increasing numbers of people who think the Earth is flat. There are increasing numbers of people. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Again, we feel like we're in a weird movie. Like, really? What?
No, it does start to feel like we actually are in some sort of. Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yes.
I remember seeing that, and it killed me. It was hilarious. I thought it was super funny because it was like it felt like what was starting to happen. But man, it's like we put the pedal to the metal on that.
It hurts. It absolutely hurts.
The first conversation I had with somebody where, I was talking to my barber and this is out in Arizona, and when I lived out there, and he's cut my hair. We were talking, as you do in barbershops, and I'm like, hey, you heard about these people who think the Earth is flat? I think I'd seen a report or something. Uh-huh. He goes to me. He says, well, I don't know, man. I think there's some truth to that.
Oh my God.
I was like, what? Wait, what?
Do you have eyelids? Is there been an invasion of the body snatchers?
So then he starts telling me about this video he saw on YouTube, right?
Oh my gosh.
And then I said to him, like, well, okay, if the Earth is flat, like, what's on the other side? And he says to me, they don't want us to know.
Oh my gosh. Conspiracy plus.
And I was like, well, who are they?
Yeah.
It's like, so, and it turns out he was not the first person I ran into. This is around 2016. I started talking to people, and he wasn't the only one I knew who thought the Earth was flat. It's crazy.
Well, we're going to have to continue our Idiocracy conversation, as well as perhaps we can re-script this. There's got to be a new movie out that allows us to see something that is grander, and I believe your documentary is part of that. It brings us back to a memory of who we can be and who the world was for you that inspired you. And I before we go, I just want to make sure people can go to eagledocumentary.com. You can donate there and help get this documentary finished. And we'll talk more about it when we come back after a few commercials. Thank you, Jeffrey. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. We have Jeffrey Morris joining us today from Future Dude Entertainment. It's a premier source for original and captivating and future-focused adventure stories that span genres, media, and generations. So glad you're here, Jeffrey. We had a great conversation back in October. I thoroughly enjoyed going to Film in the Cities and to hear the conversations about the work that you're doing. And I'm a big supporter in terms of what I think you can be doing with your Eagle documentary to help bring back some hope.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I it's funny. I'm realizing, I hope I'm not coming across as negative with this.
Oh,
it's just
no.
It's just such a challenging time. I had gone into the election kind of hopeful that things were going to go in a different direction. So that's all.
No. Yeah, I think you and I are on the same page. Yeah. I believed we were moving into Star Trek.
Yes. I felt like this last election was sort of, it was the Star Trek versus Mad Max.
Yeah, and I wanted that renaissance. Yeah. I think that's why it hit so hard. Is wait a minute, we're not going to have Star Trek. We're not going to have Team America, where we treasure each other and work together to face the challenges that the human race faces. So how to cope with the new reality, and what can we as individuals do? I have a friend that just told me, some of it just have to wait it out and be able to gain our strength, take our time, not over exhaust ourselves, because we're going to be needing to to work harder later. So take care of ourselves during this time. I believe it's time for art, and how we can express ourselves through art. And I don't hear negativity from you. I hear exhaustion from what we've all had to go through, but I don't hear negativity. For every progress that DEI or civil rights or whatever we want to call multicultural celebration, there's always a backlash, and this one's a bad one.
Yeah, this one is going to be hard. I think it's going to be a little harder to reverse than many people think, and I think there has to be some clear thinking here. And anyway, I could go on on that one, but yes, let's go back to my documentary. I know you like to talk about that.
I do. Well, I want people to support it because
I really appreciate that.
I think underlying it is we need to bring back heroes, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's a big part. It's funny because obviously I sent you the first 22 minutes of the documentary is going to be 90 minutes long, and we're about halfway done editing it. And the thing that I realized is yes, we talk about this sci-fi spaceship from 50 years ago, but at the end of the day, the story is really about that was a unique period in human history when we were going to the moon, when we had that kind of science fiction on our televisions, when we had this sort of hope for the future. And I want to figure out, you're absolutely right. It's like, we got to figure out how to bring that back. We have to figure out how to and I talked about, you saw that I talk in there, I speak specifically about role models and about heroes, and how important it is. And I think one of the things people are going to see in this film is how important, what the impact of those role models were on myself and these other individuals you're going to see in the film. There's a woman in the movie who has been a friend of mine since, I think we met each other in kindergarten. We've been friends ever since, and she's a PhD neuroscientist who's done a lot of really neat cutting edge work. She's out of Arizona, works at ASU, and she actually was inspired by watching science fiction. In particular, a character played by actress Barbara Bain from this show, Space 1999, Dr. Russell. And that was the first time they had a science fiction show where the co-lead of the series was a woman. And so, and my friend saw that when she was a little girl and said, you know what, I could grow up to become someone like Dr. Russell or a scientist or something, right?
It's so important to have the role models.
So scene in the film where I actually introduce her to her hero.
Oh, my gosh.
And Barbara Bain, the actress, she was 93 years old at the time we shot, and she's literally moved to tears meeting a woman. She's like, okay, so you saw me on TV as a little girl, and now you're sitting in front of me telling me about the work you're doing as a PhD, as a neuroscientist because you were inspired. She had never known that inspired. She knew that she had fans, and she knew fans for the show, but seeing the actual impact she had, and she tells stories about how her difficulties growing up as a young Jewish woman and the kind of some of the segregation and hate that she faced as a college, and Barbara Bain does in the story. So it's really, really neat to hear. She grew up in Chicago in a predominantly black neighborhood, and she told me all kinds of stories about this. So this documentary is going to be really interesting. It's not just about science fiction. It's about the human condition, and it's about. I'm trying to use it as a springboard to talk about much bigger issues and point a different direction.
Exactly. You talk about the human condition, and I also feel like it's the human potential.
Yes, the human potential. Absolutely.
What can we be? And interesting, we talked a little bit about roadmap and how scary it was. Like, no, science fiction wasn't being able to roadmap to this terrible destiny. But you talk about roadmap in the 22-minute piece that I saw. As being part of the positive traits of the hero and the roadmap to building integrity and character. I mean, that's the roadmap that I want. That's the roadmap I think art and the work that you're doing can give us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's absolutely what my goal and intent is with this. So,
well, tell me a little bit more about how people can support you, because I know I went to your website and see that it just says, donate here.
Okay, well, yeah. So so there's a couple things. We have the ability to take finances in two different ways. We actually have equity investors who are able to actually invest in the project, and you can have, if you're an accredited investor, you can actually buy into the project and actually get a return on your investment when we sell it, which is pretty cool. But we also have the ability, we're connected to a 501c3 called Film North, which is a wonderful organization here in the Twin Cities that promotes Minnesota-based film production. And, through Film North, we can actually take grants, or sponsorships. People can donate personally. It's a tax-deductible donation, that sort of thing. So we can take personal sponsorship, donation sponsorships. We can also take it from corporations or, that sort of thing. So those are two different directions people can go. So as far as the equity investment, you would want to reach out directly to me. You can there's a contact form on the futuredude.com where someone could reach out to me. But then as far as donating, you can just go straight to the link that we have on our website at eagledocumentary.com, and you can donate to the project there. And you'll see a write-up about the project, where we've been, what we're doing, an excerpt of the film. There's a 12-minute excerpt, and kind of go from there.
And just to give a top-line review of what the documentary is it follows you and your early inspirations, your father being an aeronautical engineer, and your love of the science, your love of art, your love of architecture, your love of dance. I don't know if dance comes in, but I know that from from our conversation before that you're actually involved in dance and graphic arts. And with that, you want to talk to people that were part of this. So you've got, as you mentioned in the last segment, you've got Captain Kirk. You've got a friend of yours who is inspired, as we were just talking about. But you've got folks that were actually part of Space 1999.
Yes.
And you've got folks that do the visual effects. And you go all over the world. You go to London. You go to Colorado. And we go on an adventure with you as you explore the obsessions not only that you have, but others have as well.
Yes. Yeah. No, I meet people whose love of this stuff has led them to build huge models of it. There's a guy in Denmark that I visit with. It's great. And then I also go to England, where I recreate some of the sets from this TV series from 50 years ago. And I actually got to hang out in the set with this actor who I grew up watching. And it's pretty magical stuff. So, yeah, we have an astronaut named Dr. Sian Proctor, who was the first Black woman ever to pilot a spacecraft, who is in the documentary also. Kevin J. Anderson, who's he writes for lots of Dune novels. He's written books for Star Wars, X-Files, Dune. He's a producer on the Dune movies and TV series, stuff like that. So, yeah, he's a good friend of mine. And he's part of it as well. So I don't even know where. Oh, I also interviewed I interviewed someone one of the guys who walked on the moon. Oh, yeah. Also, yeah.
And you featured the students that you worked with as well, that were part of
yes.
Yes, fifth grade kids that had not known much about the science fiction TV shows and were moved and inspired by it as well.
Yes, absolutely. I worked with a group of fifth graders from. Who went to an aerospace magnet school in Blaine, that was awesome. So, yeah.
Well, you had asked me to watch the 22 minutes before our talk today. And I have to tell you, when it opened with the Eagle song, fly like an eagle into the sea, fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me, fly like an eagle till I am free, O Lord, through the revolution. It hit me. It's like, yeah, we need to have our own personal eagle. What will take us beyond this? And then how do we connect with others? What does that look like? And I deeply feel that your documentary and having the chance to talk about how it's okay to be intellectual. It's okay to be fact-based.
Yes, thank you. You actually, you've just proven to me you get it. It's like, wow, it's like, that is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. It is okay to be smart. It is cool to be smart. It is not a, it's funny. I've spent decades dealing with some of my smarter friends who would, if they say, I don't know if you've ever encountered this when you're having an intelligent conversation with them, they make it say, they tell you something important, and then they kind of look down to the ground and go, yeah, I'm a nerd.
Yeah,
Right?
almost apologizing. Yes,
exactly. And I'm like,
Stop
why
that.
are you doing this? Why are you feeling this way? It's like, it's not, if you think about it, it's absolutely fine to be to have knowledge of all kinds of sports statistics in this society, right? You don't see someone sort of self-deprecating because they know all the stats of what happened with baseball the past season. You know what I mean? They don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not. And I guess the point for me is part of what I do. This is a celebration of the idea that it's okay to be inspired by science. It's okay to be inspired by dreams of the future or dreams of, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this documentary. You nailed it.
And science can be filled with joy and excitement and challenges and struggles. But it's the questions. And how do we become more fascinated with the questions than we are with simple answers? And that if we can keep having the spirit of curiosity and questions, we'll get beyond and we will celebrate being smart. It seems like that the last election also was anti-intellectualism. It was
question.
Dems were like being accused of you're being too intellectual. Well, what does that mean?
Yes. Well, you go all the way back to with the year 2000 or 2000. I remember people saying things like, "Well, I don't know about Gore, but I feel like I could have a beer with Bush."
Yeah, exactly. Do
you remember that?
I do. I absolutely do remember that. Well, wait a minute. I think I'd rather have someone.
He uses all those big words and stuff,
Yes, and all that environmental stuff.
All that environmental science stuff and everything. It's like, and you're absolutely right. There's like a celebration of being stupid right now.
And that, you're not going to make me feel bad anymore. I feel a grievance towards you guys because you're just showing off that you're smart, and we don't need that anymore.
Well, okay, but I'm going to go on the other side though too.
Okay, wait. I got my engineer is looking at me saying, "No, you're not." Okay, hold on to that because we'll come back with that. We'll start off with that. Okay.
Yep.
All right, we'll be right back here on Connections Radio Show here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we're having a lively and wonderful conversation with Jeffrey Morris from Future Dude, and we're talking about the EagleDocumentary.com and an amazing documentary that Jeffrey's been working on. And we were talking about it's okay to be smart. It's okay to be proud. You do not have to look down in shame if you say something smart. You can, own it and be. How do we bring back? That smart's cool?
Here's one thing I'm going to say in defense of the people who are anti-intellectual, and this is something that I have noticed, and I do think there's an onus. I feel that smart people do have a responsibility to find a way to help everyday average people understand bigger ideas. I really, really do. I look back, my greatest hero was Carl Sagan, Dr. Carl Sagan.
Yeah.
And because Carl found a way to popularize very, very big ideas in science, right? And to bring them down to help the masses understand. Now, I have in my career met people who are in the sciences who are very much of the mindset of, hey, I'm up here in my ivory tower, and if you want the knowledge, you got to come up here to be up here with me, and it almost felt like they were sort of
shutting the door,
shutting the door, or almost they're in it for their ego. I'm smart and I'm looking down on you,
and that shame is harsh. I mean, if people feel shame or that they're being made fun of or that they're being exercised from it, that's not fair either.
Yes, absolutely. And so all I'm going to say is to those out there who have knowledge of science, knowledge of history, knowledge of literature and art, that finding ways to share that with those who do not understand or who are not called to it is at the root of what is the most important thing I think human civilization needs right now, is for the smart people to find a way to help bring everybody else along. I think that is the missing piece. We have to find a way. Now you spoke about art. That's one way to do it. But you know what I mean? It's like we have to find a way to make.
And art and science can go, just as your whole whole beauty of your documentary and the beauty of your passion is about taking science into an art so it can be relatable, so that the stories can inspire. Because we don't really pay attention at this point in our lives, it seems like, or our world, to facts. So if facts aren't moving you, can a story move you? Can the story of science move you? Can the opportunities of the heroic journey of a scientist move you? Because that's my hope.
Absolutely. So yes, that's very much what I'm thinking. Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
with that, what is your next steps? We've got only a couple more minutes. And again, I want to eagledocumentary.com. Take a look at the amazing work that's being done. I encourage you to support this effort, because I think it makes a difference not only for having a good documentary out there, but it's important at this time especially that we have some inspiration and that we can see something bigger that Jeffrey brings to us. But with that, what sort of closing comments would you like to have for my audience about the work that you're doing and your next steps?
Oh, well, I mean, right now we're on track. Any support is great, because we're on track we want this to premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival, which is in September. In order to make that deadline, there's a deadline. We have to have the film completed in April in order to submit, because then they have to go through a review process and everything for us to become part of their, roster of films. So we have to get it finished. We've got 50% edited. We're working. I'm working. My life is raising money and editing right now. We
one or the other.
40 hours of footage we shot, and it's really amazing and very high quality and amazing interviews, amazing content, and we just need some help to bring it home. So it's so we'll be raising money all the way. I would assume we'll be raising money through probably May. I think we can continue even after we get the thing finished to wrap it up. But we're covering post-production costs and still a few production costs still and everything. But
if there are special events that you all are doing that you can let me know about so that I can support you and publicize it, I would love to be part of your voice out to the community of the work you're doing. And I would love to see that your work would be ready for the Toronto Film Festival. And then following the Toronto Film Festival, what's your hope for where it goes next after that?
After that, the idea is that, we've made this you've seen it, we've made it at a quality where it's made for theatrical release. We're going to be in talks with, actually soon we're talking to Cinemark Theaters about the possibility. They've got 12,000 theaters, and there was like the Taylor Swift movie was independently distributed. We want to distribute our documentaries similarly, but then ultimately we're going to end up somewhere like, there's 3 targets for this, like HBO, Netflix, or Amazon in the end. One of those.
Thank you for all that you're doing, Jeffrey. Thank you for all that you bring to the documentary and the magic of it and the hope. I do believe that you're bringing hope in a place where we most need it. So thank you for all that you do. I really
appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I'd love to have you back again.
Absolutely.
All right.
We'll sing.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.